of y'all coming and being a part of this, and welcome any feedback, any questions that you have. Safety is the most important thing for us as a district, and especially for my department. We currently have 30 police officers. That has grown from when I took over in February of 2018, we had 17. And we've continued to increase that, and they rotate across the district at various campuses to ensure that our students remain safe. We have 2 canines. One you just saw a while ago, Soren. He is what we call a narcotics canine. He's dual purpose, and we have a second canine that will be on board by the time school starts. His name is Jerry. I don't pick the names, they already come that way. And but he's a weapons detection dog, and he's dual purpose as well. And what we mean by dual purpose is they are apprehension trained dogs. So if we needed to apprehend someone out to do it more safely with the dog, they're capable of doing that. So, and Chuck works very strongly with us. He's our school safety director. He's going to go into some of what they do as well. And then we have an excellent partnership with our local law enforcement partners, like with Chief Hawkins, Joseph Barragon, with KPD, Nolanville PD, and also with Fort Hood. The 30 officers that we have are for everything that is off the military installation. We work with the military police, and they have school resource officers that they have assigned for campuses on Fort Hood. We work together with them to ensure that the training is similar to what we get, so that we're all on the same page, and work very strongly to make sure that there's a coordinated effort as we move forward to keep your students, staff, and the community safe. So one of the things that has come up is about training, and we've always been very big about training, and especially when it comes to active shooter training with our department. Our officers, you're required by the state to only go through an 8-hour active shooter training course. With our department, our officers have been through alert training, which is an additional 16 hours of active shooter response training. It's actually called active law enforcement rapid response training. And we have officers that have been through ERACE, which is exterior response to active shooter event. And also, we've had a couple of our officers go through SWAT training so that they are prepared as well. And we, back in April, before Uvalde or anything actually happened, we bought what we call simulated weapons, where we can have active shooter training, which we are doing this week with our officers at one of our campuses, where they can actually use simulated weapons that shoots chalk rounds, but it's all just like 9mm weapons, so that they can learn to clear classrooms, and we continue to do that all throughout the year so that our people are prepared for an active shooter response. Some of the other things that we make them go through as well is what they call NIMS. It's the National Incident Management System. They have command training for officers to respond. There's a basic 100 and 700 class that we have officers go through, and then there's a 300 that is a intermediate class and a 400 advanced class that we send them through. And then we go through an ASIM training that we have some of our supervisors going through as well. And in fact, Alert put on some tabletop exercises that we have done internally with our officers, and then some online training as well that was just set up for supervisors. It was a 4-hour course just for responding to an active shooter, and usually with an active shooter situation, you're talking about 3 to 5 minutes typically, but everything that happens after that as well, how you're going to do reunification, how are you going to recover those that are injured. So this 4-hour class was set up for supervisors, but what we did with our department is we had all of our people go through that, so that the first officer that comes, he's got command of the scene because he or she knows what's going on. We want them to be prepared on what they need to do moving forward. So we're always trying to do that throughout the year, and it's like anything else. If you continue to do this, it becomes muscle memory for you, so that you will respond and you will act. And irregardless of it's one officer or multiple officers that respond, that they're going to go in right away, because we're taught to eliminate the threat that is at the school, and that's what we will do. So, our phone numbers are up here, so if any of y'all want to take pictures of those, there's 4 contacts up there. Our police department, sergeant who's over patrol, our operations lieutenant, and myself. Those are all direct lines, so if you ever have any questions, you ever want to call back. We will get back with you if we don't respond right then within 24 hours to address any concerns that you have. I'm going to let Chuck talk a little bit about some of the training that they do there, some of the drills, and we're going to kind of tag team some of this as we move forward.
So good evening. Really appreciate y'all being here. That says a lot about your mindset, how important safety is. Safety's, when we say it's our #1 priority, that can just be words if we don't implement, if we don't follow through, if we don't show action. And I want to tell you that KISD, it is our #1 priority, and we follow through with that action, and I'm very proud to be part of that. One of the things that, well, one of several things we do, training. Like Chief said, you have to train. Train and train and train. That way, in the case of an emergency, you're more muscle memory, you're gonna react to the way that you've been trained. Annual training for all our KISD employees. We have bullying prevention, conflict resolution, mental health and substance. Mental health, some of our mental health representatives are here. Huge in the district and in our society, what's going on. So we really hit that hard for mental health. Homeless awareness. It's a factor in KILLEEN. We have homeless kids, we have homeless people. Training on how to assist and how to help and how to deal with people that are in that type of situation, very important to us. Sex abuse, human trafficking, again, something that's going on nationwide, statewide, and within our own community here. We've had students that are victims of human trafficking. So we train staff to notice the signs, identify, and to assist and report such instances. And that goes along with the maltreatment of our kids. We work hand in hand on a daily, sometimes assisting CPS. CPS, they lean on us and we lean on them. We work very closely together between the chief's folks, my department, and CPS on abuse, something that we obviously take very seriously, and we train again for identification, our staff, so that they know when they see something, they say something. A whole nother side is the positive student relationships, our education staff. You know, some kids, they might not get that positive reinforcement that you would think they would get at home. Some do, some don't. Our staff is trained heavily on this to give that reinforcement, because that might be the only positive influence that a child gets for is at school. So really important to follow through with that. Suicide prevention, I don't even need to say, it's prevalent in our society. People are sometimes at their wits' end. They don't know what to do. So seeing those signs, having the resources to address such situations is very important. Harassment, that's something that pretty much comes right to me for handling sexual harassment, discrimination. We train our staff on all those types of instances and awareness. And as Dr. Kraft said, standard response and reunification, safe place, trauma. So safe place, let me talk about that a little bit. That's a new program that we just implemented. We're in a partnership with that organization. That's a nationwide organization that you may have seen it. I didn't really know what they were until I got educated on it. So driving around KILLEEN, I would see the sign that says safe place. And then kind of right when I started noticing them, we were contacted by them and we went into a partnership with the organization. And what it is, our staff is trained to provide, basically they can come to any of our campuses. They don't have to be a student there. It can be for abuse, it can be for neglect, a lot of different reasons that a student might reach out and ask for help. So our staff is trained on identifying, and really all they have to do is call the 800 number, the Safe Place representatives come out and they work with us. They take over from there. We know, we report, we bring in law enforcement if needed, and if not needed, we provide those resources for that child. So, reunification, that's one that's really, really close to my heart because I'm responsible for that program. You've seen it on TV, you saw it at Uvalde, you saw how that situation didn't go real well in a lot of aspects, and don't really need to talk about that too much, but reunifying in case of an incident, and it could be a gas leak, it could be a fire, it could be a safety situation, a shooting, God forbid. A lot of different instances where we have to get children back to their guardians and their parents in a timely and responsible, organized manner. So we practice on that. Our staff is trained. This summer they're going through the training, and my department, we have locations ready. We have equipment ready to enable us to take and turn students over safely and responsibly and in a timely manner back to their, so they can get home and be safe. Really important. And then the trauma, the last thing I'm gonna hit here in a second is trauma care, that training. So that's Stop the Bleed. Stop the Bleed is, so that's one that, in case of an emergency, time is of the essence. So our staff is trained to use Stop the Bleed kits, which we have them in every other classroom. We have them in offices, we have them in the coaching staff, in the gyms, where the defibrillators are, we have them there. So that in case of an emergency, like I say, time is of the essence. They can react, they can use a tourniquet, they can use gauze, they can use something that's going to stop the bleed until the paramedics can get there and assist. So a human being can bleed out in a matter of minutes. So time is of the essence, and those kids and that training is super important. So we are actually, not only our staff, but this year we're going to have the training available for students 7th grade and above. So it's not mandatory, but those students that want to be trained are going to have the opportunity to do so, because let's face it, like in the Uvalde situation, there's 2 teachers maybe in a whole wing, but there's lots of students, so God forbid something happened and an adult is not available. It may be a student that has to go hands-on and use one of these kits and help save a life. So, so that's available 7th grade and above, which is something new, but very important, and we look forward to that training for students. So bully, oh, go ahead. Okay, so we're going to talk about drills. So the drills, it's muscle memory. Our staff is well versed in our drills. So secure, that's when there's police activity or something outside of the campus. Not really related to our campus, but something that we have to take into consideration. For example, we've had to kind of lock in the kids, which is a secure, it's not a lockdown. People get those terms mixed up. A lockdown is something that's happening in the school. A secure is something that's happening outside the school. It could be a police pursuit, could be a hostage situation, could be a fire, something in the neighborhood that could affect our campus. So we bring all the kids in, lock the doors, and continue business as usual, but parents aren't allowed in, no one's coming in, no one's coming out until that emergency's taken care of. And it happens here in town sometimes, 45 minutes, an hour. We've had some that lasted longer than that because of police activity. But that's just one of the measures that we drill on. And those we practice once a year. We have our shelter in place for hazmat and weather, that's your tornado drills, or gas leaks, that sort of thing. Lockdowns, everybody hears about lockdowns because they get those terms mixed up. All the schools in a lockdown. A lockdown is when there's, like I said, actually an emergency at that campus, and we've had them, not real regularly, luckily enough, but if there's a report of, we've had one recently of someone with a weapon on campus, we lock it down, and there's a mechanism to bring the campus out of that lockdown. So the doors are locked, nobody in or out, and then our police department takes over, and they're the ones that actually release the campus out of that lockdown.
So with the lockdown, you can't move within the campus whatsoever. You're locked down in the classroom. And one of the things that we've done with some of our campuses, and we will continue to do, is when they have these lockdown drills, is we'll have some of our officers go and just as an observer, see how they're performing with this so that we can give them some feedback to ensure that we do everything possible to lock it down. One of the campuses decided to do this one morning as school was about to begin, with buses arriving and all that, and we had conversations with bus drivers about, if we have a threat inside the building, what are you going to do to try and educate them as well? Because it affects everybody within the building and within the campus, the facility.
And so lockdowns can be very traumatic. People are traumatized because sometimes kids, they hear lockdown, even though if they hear it's a drill, it's a drill, it's a drill.